Hey everybody, and welcome back to another weather sim forecast. And in today's forecast, we're going to be talking about a large storm that's going to be coming to the United States over the next couple of weeks. And this is going to be a big one, as not only do we have a storm currently ongoing that will likely bring severe weather across areas of the northern plains and as well as the upper Midwest, but we also got the potential to see more severe storms once we enter the later part of June. And I think once we get into that time frame, this is when we'll likely see a little bit more of an elevated shot of potentially seeing a derecho once again. And so that is going to be something to watch very closely, as conditions do appear to be very favorable for severe storms once we get into the later part of this month, especially since we'll have even more energy to work with. Now, before we get into today's forecast, make sure to follow us on Twitter and Facebook by going to one of the websites and searching for Weather with Sim on the search tab, and it should pull up. We really do appreciate your guys' support, and if you guys would like to go check that out, feel free to do that. And let's get right into today's forecast. The first thing we want to check out is going to be the weather, of course, and you guys can see once again that we do have a slight risk level 2 out of 5 threat for severe storms today, heading from Kansas all the way up there into the upper Midwest, Northern Plains, and Great Lakes region. Main concern for today does not appear to be anything too crazy, but we could see an isolated brief spin up tornado, a little bit of damaging wind, and maybe even an isolated large hail threat as well. So all hazards in play, with the concern especially being damaging winds, which is really the only thing that's causing the weather to look a little more concerning for today. So we'll watch it very closely, as damaging winds appear to be the main concern, but I would still want you guys to be prepared just in case an isolated tornado or two occurs, or even some large hail once again. So we'll definitely watch today very closely, as we are looking at the potential for widespread damaging winds especially. And then once we head into our Tuesday, of course, that will be for tomorrow. I think Tuesday is going to be another day to watch for, because not only do we have the potential to see an isolated tornado once again, but look at this hail threat, guys. We're talking a 15% hatched risk for large hail, and that hatched word that you heard means that we could see a few hailstones potentially over apple size. We're talking 2-inch in diameter hail or greater, especially over areas of eastern Wyoming and northern Colorado. I think that's going to be the area to see potentially the biggest hail tomorrow, but you can see that that marginal risk even expands all the way over there into New England. So we got a long area that may see some severe weather, but once again, I don't think it's going to be really anything too crazy, besides maybe a little bit of an isolated storm or two getting ongoing across northeast, maybe one across the northern Ohio Valley and southern Great Lakes, and maybe even another one over there across the Midwest. And other than that, I don't expect it to be too crazy, but like I said, the main area that we are watching for is, of course, northern Colorado, eastern portions there Wyoming, western portions there Nebraska, and as well as western South Dakota, with the main concern being large to very large hail and damaging winds. And then by the time we enter day 3, of course, we still once again got the potential of seeing some severe weather. This is when we might even need to watch areas like the southeast, as well as we will have a little bit of a low pressure system coming on in, and this is what may bring, some isolated severe storms. Once again, it's nothing really too crazy, but still, we're watching the potential for more severe storms heading from the eastern Rockies all the way over there into New York City. So that will be our next big area to watch for after today and after tomorrow. So make sure you guys are continuing to be on high alert across those areas. And here's what that looks like as we look at the European model. You guys can see that for today, about 6 hours out from now, we are looking at the potential for some storms getting ongoing across South Dakota, as you can see, especially where you see those little orange color, maybe indicating a little bit of an elevated elevated risk for damaging winds, and you guys can see that those may even continue as we get into the nighttime hours tonight before we really just, continue to once again see these severe weather threats persist over the next few days. And once again, main concern for tomorrow is going to be damaging winds, especially since these storms will be lining up like that, and that's one of the reasons why damaging winds appear to be the biggest concern. But we still can't rule out maybe a few isolated supercells ongoing, and once again, main concern still looking to be damaging winds even once we enter our Wednesday. And then after that, here's what happens. We do have high pressure system once again across areas of the southeast, lower Ohio Valley, and deep south, which is one of the reasons why those storms are staying farther east and farther north. But once high pressure system heads out, this is when I do think we're about to potentially see another big severe weather event happen, especially once we get into the end of this month. Look at this. Once we head into the last day of June, check this out. We could potentially see a big derecho ongoing across areas of the northern Ohio Valley and continuing southward. You can see how it starts out by seeing some of the storms, and once again, we could even see severe weather across the Midwest and Central Plains by the time we enter June 29th. But once those storms march eastward, by the time we get into June 30th, look at this. A derecho could potentially be on the table, as that line of storms right there, as you can see, would start across northern Illinois, northern Indiana, and northern Missouri, and just continuing southward like that. Now, the reason why we're concerned about this is because if this were to happen, this would be on Monday next week. That's still a little far out from now, but at least it's not 10 days out, okay? So that's why we're going to be watching to see if something like this does happen, and you guys can see that that line of storms may fall apart, but we will still have some storms ongoing, and at the same time those storms move down there, we also still got a lot of energy to work with, guys. Look at this. During that entire event, we could see potentially over 4,000 joules per kilogram, guys. So like I said, conditions are very favorable for severe weather event. We just don't know if it's going to be the case or not. So that's something we're going to watch for as we get into the very end of June. And you guys can see that with our temperatures, like I said, this is what's causing all that energy to get on going, as we're just going to continue to see 90s even as we head into the next couple of weeks. Look at this, just 100s for heat index popping up. Like I said, a lot of this area that you see pop up in the 100 range is heat index, but like I said, that also likely means you're going to be in the 90s by the time we head into the next couple of weeks, guys. This is just going to be an everyday thing. We're likely going to see heat index over 100 for the rest of this week. We're likely going to see heat index over 100 even as we get into next week, especially across the south, southeast, and maybe even as far north as the lower Ohio Valley by the time we head into the next couple of weeks. And even once we enter July once again, maybe a little bit of a cool down across the northeast with 60s popping up. But that does not end anytime soon, as we're just going to continue to see this heat persist across some of the same areas. So we really need you guys to be prepared, as we are looking at the concern of potentially a severe weather event ongoing at the same time. Heat index could potentially be over 100 degrees, and whenever heat index is over 100 degrees, you guys really need to take that heat seriously by especially drinking plenty of water and staying in an air-conditioned room. And listen to this, never leave pets or kids in vehicles. That is something that we really want you guys to take seriously, is never leave pets or kids in vehicles, or else that could be potentially bad, like very, very bad if you guys don't do that right. Now, for the Climate Prediction Center outlooks, you guys can see that for the next couple of weeks, especially once we enter the end of this month, above normal temperatures likely to continue across the eastern United States once again, as we're just going to continuously see those 90s around. Same out there to the west, as it is expected to be a little bit warmer than what we're seeing right now, so definitely get ready for that. And then as we get a little farther out into July, we're looking as far out as July 6th now, as it is looking likely that we still see above normal temperatures. Once again, maybe a little bit of a cool down ongoing, which may bring a little bit less in the way of above normal temperatures, but still definitely looking to stay above normal across a pretty large area of the United States. And once again, above normal temperatures is what really does the thing, as we are looking at extreme amounts of energy, which could potentially lead to above normal precipitation as well across much of the eastern and central United States. And same goes even as we head a little bit farther out into the July. Maybe not as above normal, since we will start entering more of the driest part of summer, but still above normal precipitation is possible. So that is something that we're going to watch very closely, as we could see anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of rainfall once we enter the beginning of July, and that will especially be over areas of the Midwest. So we really want you guys to take it seriously, as much of the eastern United States will likely experience over a half an inch of rain. Now, let's talk about the tropics a little bit. This is going to be our last thing, by the way, that we're going to talk about in today's video, because you guys can see that there is a pretty high chance that we do see this area right here develop. We got some pretty big looking clouds over there, and when we look at it by going to the color satellite, if it will load, it's definitely once again looking concerning, to say the least. So that is something that we're going to watch for, as there could potentially be a lot of storms ongoing over here in the Atlantic, and then we might even see even a little bit get over here across areas of the eastern Pacific. So two areas that we are watching very closely, but once again, there is still some uncertainty about how exactly they play out, but we definitely want you guys to take it seriously, as we got the eastern Pacific and the central Atlantic. And I wish I could show you on satellite, but it won't load for some reason, but it definitely is looking very, very concerning. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure to follow me on Facebook and Twitter once again by searching for Weather Sim on one of those websites. We really do appreciate your guys' support to making things like this happen, and of course subscribe to the YouTube channel so that way you guys don't miss out on any future videos or live streams that we do here on this channel, as we will still go live occasionally, not like every week, but just when we need to. So consider doing that, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday out there, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Thank you all so much for watching, and goodbye.